Imagine a world on constant high alert. Two superpowers armed with thousands of nuclear weapons locked in a bitter rivalry. This wasn't a science fiction film, this was the Cold War. From the ashes of World War II, a new conflict emerged, one that would define a generation and leave an enduring legacy on global politics. The Cold War wasn't a hot war with direct military confrontations between the United States and the Soviet Union. Instead, it was a clash of ideologies, a battle for global influence. The capitalist West, led by the United States, championed democracy and free markets. The communist East, dominated by the Soviet Union, promoted a socialist system with a centrally controlled economy. This ideological divide ran deep, shaping every aspect of international relations, from military alliances like NATO and the Warsaw Pact to proxy wars fought in Korea and Vietnam. The Cold War cast a long shadow over the globe. The fear of nuclear annihilation became an ever-present reality, shaping the lives of millions. The seeds of the Cold War were sown in the ruins of World War II. The wartime alliance between the United States and the Soviet Union quickly unraveled. Mutual suspicion and distrust grew, fueled by starkly different visions for the post-war world. In 1946, Churchill declared an Iron Curtain had descended across Europe. The Soviet Union installed communist regimes in Eastern Europe. The United States provided aid to Western Europe through the Marshall Plan. The division of Germany symbolized the broader East-West split. Berlin became a focal point of Cold War tensions. In 1948, the Soviets blockaded West Berlin. The United States responded with the Berlin Airlift. The Iron Curtain solidified the Cold War divide, both sides engaged in a relentless arms race. Fear and paranoia permeated both societies as the threat of nuclear war loomed large. The Cold War was marked by crises that nearly led to nuclear war. Three key events stand out: the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Berlin Wall's construction, and the space race. In 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the US and Soviet Union to the brink. The Soviets had secretly deployed nuclear missiles to Cuba. President Kennedy imposed a naval blockade, demanding their removal. After tense negotiations, Khrushchev agreed to withdraw the missiles. The Berlin Wall, built in 1961, symbolized the Cold War's division. East Germany erected it to stop mass emigration to the West. It became a symbol of communist oppression. The Cold War also extended into space with the space race. The Soviet launch of Sputnik in 1957 shocked the US. The space race culminated in the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing. The shadow war espionage in the Cold War. While the threat of nuclear war loomed large, a hidden war was also being fought in the shadows, a war of espionage. Both the United States and the Soviet Union established vast intelligence networks, seeking to infiltrate each other's governments, steal secrets, and influence events. Espionage took many forms, from traditional human intelligence gathering to sophisticated electronic eavesdropping. Spies infiltrated government agencies, scientific institutions, and even each other's intelligence services. Double agents played a dangerous game, betraying their own countries for ideological or personal gain. The stakes in the espionage game were high. Intelligence coups, like the successful American effort to crack Soviet codes during World War II, could have a decisive impact on the course of the Cold War. Failures such as the exposure of Soviet spies like Klaus Fuchs and the Rosenbergs could damage national security and fuel public paranoia. The espionage war was a constant undercurrent to the Cold War, a reminder that beneath the surface of diplomatic posturing and ideological pronouncements, a dangerous and often deadly game was being played. The thaw and the fall, the Soviet Union unravels. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union, burdened by economic stagnation and internal dissent, began to unravel. The election of Mikhail Gorbachev as Soviet leader in 1985 ushered in an era of reform known as perestroika, or restructuring, and glasnost, or openness. Gorbachev sought to revitalize the Soviet system, but his reforms inadvertently unleashed forces that would ultimately lead to its demise. In Eastern Europe, the winds of change were blowing even stronger. Inspired by Gorbachev's reforms and emboldened by a weakening Soviet Union, popular movements challenged communist rule. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, a pivotal moment that symbolized the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union itself dissolved in 1991, marking the end of the Cold War. 15 new republics emerged from the ashes of the Soviet Empire, including a newly independent Russia. The collapse of the Soviet Union had profound implications for the world, ending the bipolar system that had defined global politics for nearly half a century. Conclusion echoes of the Cold War. The Cold War may be over, but its legacy continues to shape the world we live in today. The collapse of the Soviet Union left a void in global power that the United States struggled to fill. New challenges, such as the rise of China and the resurgence of Russia, have emerged to test the post-Cold War order. Moreover, the Cold War's ideological battles have not entirely disappeared. The struggle between democracy and authoritarianism continues to play out in different forms around the world. The threat of nuclear proliferation remains a pressing concern, a chilling reminder of the Cold War's dangerous legacy. The Cold War was a period of unprecedented tension and uncertainty, but it also witnessed remarkable resilience and ultimately a triumph of hope over fear. As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, the lessons of the Cold War, the importance of diplomacy, the dangers of ideological extremism, and the enduring human spirit remain as relevant as ever.